Welcome back to the World History. Today, we journey into the birth of an empire that would shake the very core of 3 continents. Our story begins in the late 13th century as the Seljuk Sultanate crumbles and a warrior named Osman dreams of glory. A young Osmani, sword in hand, stands atop the rugged Anatolian hills. The wind carries visions of conquest. This is where the Ottoman dream begins. Osman's cavalry tears across the battlefield. Facing Byzantine resistance with unmatched fury, the crescent flag rises as blood spills under a crimson sky marking the first echoes of an empire in the making. In 1299, Osman proclaims his independent state. And within decades, his descendants transform that spark into a firestorm. Enter Mehmed II, brilliant, ruthless, visionary. Crowned in Topkapi Palace, the boy sultan grows into the conqueror, a title etched into the walls of history. Then came 1453. Constantinople, the ancient jewel of Byzantium, stood defiant. But not for long. Massive Ottoman cannons roar to life, shaking the earth. Walls crumble. Smoke rises. And in a moment that changes the world, the city falls. Inside Hagia Sophia, once a cathedral, now a mosque, calligraphy and mosaics meet, marking the fusion of empires, a spiritual and symbolic triumph. A new era begins, one ruled not from the shadows, but from the minarets of Istanbul. Suleiman the Magnificent soon ascends, a ruler not just of armies, but of law, culture, and destiny. Seated on a golden throne, he commands one of the greatest courts the world has ever seen. Gold, power, intellect all converge in the age of glory. Across the Mediterranean, Ottoman ships cut through the waves like blades through silk, their sails tower above the seas, driven by wains of ambition and wrapped in the crescent banner. In the imperial court, grand viziers plot strategy over massive maps, their fingers tracing the growing reach of the empire. Every decision, every campaign carved the path to dominance with surgical precision. Meanwhile, the Janissaries, the elite force of the empire, sharpen their skills with terrifying discipline, sword to musket. They are the iron backbone of Ottoman power, loyal only to the Sultan. In 1526, at the Battle of Mohacs, Hungarian resistance crumbles like sand before the Ottoman storm. The battlefield is a mire of blood, steel, and shattered armor. A single day redraws the map of Europe. From the hills of Anatolia to the gates of Vienna, the rise of the Ottoman Empire is nothing short of epic. And yet, as every empire rises, the shadows of decline begin to form. The Suleimani Mosque, glowing under a golden sunset, symbolized not only religious devotion but unmatched architectural mastery. The empire had become more than just a conqueror, it was a civilization beneath. The minarets, the grand bazaars throbbed with life. Merchants shouted over colorful fabrics, piles of spices, exotic birds, and silverware. Languages from across Africa, Europe, and Asia echoed in one bustling marketplace, proof of an empire connecting worlds. The Ottoman map stretched from Algeria to Baghdad, from Crimea to Mecca. A glowing imperial map lit with the bold red of conquest, now covered nearly half the known world. But power that grows too wide begins to wobble under its own weight, yet within this vastness bloomed beauty. The tulip era was born, an age of refinement, peace, and poetry. Sultan Ahmed III enjoyed a court filled with gardens, music, and flowing wine, as nobles in floral silk celebrated not war, but elegance. It was a rare Ottoman Renaissance. But all golden ages cast shadows. Inside dim palace corridors, whispering voices echoed, corruption crept in, intrigue flourished. The throne, once guarded by warriors, was now shaken by politics and poisoned. Far beyond Istanbul, danger brewed. In 1571, at Lepanto, Christian fleets struck hard. Flaming Ottoman galleys clashed with Venetian ships in a sea of smoke, fire, and screams. It was the first time Europe had truly pushed back. Back home, power no longer served the people. A corrupt official counts gold in secret, his smile greedy, his ledger full. The once noble state was bleeding from within slowly, silently. In 1699, the Treaty of Karlowitz delivered a painful blow. Ottoman diplomats bowed reluctantly, ceding lands to the West. For the first time, the empire shrank. As Europe rose, so did its demands. The 1800s brought the Eastern question: what to do with the sick man of Europe? French and British ambassadors circled Istanbul like vultures, carving influence while the Sultan watched helplessly. Rebellions soon erupted. In the Balkans, Serbian and Greek freedom fighters rose with fire in their eyes and vengeance in their hearts. The empire, once feared, now struggled to contain the fury it once ruled. Even as the empire built palaces and printed poetry, its grip on power slipped. Triumphs turned into memories. Glory into echo. What happens when an empire forgets the sword that built it? When the voice of the people turns into cries of rebellion, the Ottomans had reached their summit. And now the descent had begun, but the final fall was still to come. Ancient scrolls and tribal markings told tales the empire no longer remembered. The heartbeat of the Ottoman past now echoed only in whispers across the mountains, but some stories refused to die. In legends whispered in Kalish valleys, tales spoke of Alexander the Great, myths that blurred with Ottoman memory, revealing how deeply history flowed through this fractured land. By the 1800s, foreign eyes watched closely. British anthropologists in colonial attire roamed Ottoman villages, documenting cultures they never intended to save. Outsiders drawn to a fading empire. Yet the Ottomans were once a bridge of civilizations. Buddhist monks, centuries before, had passed through Anatolia, carried by trade and tolerance. A momentary glimpse of peace before the storms returned, but peace had left the empire. What remained were the sparks of rebellion and the tremors of collapse. Sultan Abdul Hamid II, once mighty, now sat alone in shadow, surrounded by dusty maps. Paranoia gnawed at him like rats in the walls. He wasn't wrong to fear. Over Istanbul, the crescent moon dimmed. The skyline darkened under storms of unrest. The empire's light, once blinding, now flickered in silence. The early 20th century struck like thunder. At Gallipoli, Ottoman soldiers clung to cliffs, defending their last pride against invading Anzac forces. Mud, blood, and steel merged. On the shores heroes were born, but so were scars. But the war was not just on the battlefield. It was in the very identity of the empire. At Topkapi Palace, the Ottoman flag was lowered for the final time. No gunfire, no explosion, just silence. The empire had officially fallen. 1922. A 600-year-old era. Out of those ashes, one man emerged. Mustafa Kemal Ataturk walked among ruins and broken flags, carving a new path. His eyes held no fear, only fire. From empire to republic, he carried the dreams of the wounded. People. History rarely offers clean endings. In a single frame, one side shows a glorious sultan rising in gold. The other shows a nation bleeding, a flag torn. This is the Ottoman story. A tale of rise, reign, and ruin. The empire that once ruled 3 continents now survives only in ruins. Ruins that still whisper to those who listen, yet its legacy endures in art, in law, in language. In the skyline of Istanbul, the fall was not the end, it was a transformation. The world had changed. The empire had vanished, but the echo of its thunder still rolls across time.